In this edition of Southern Newsweek, farms north of Oamaru receive a special visitor. Will an Invercargill golf course be saved from permanent closure? And we catch up on the annual Golden Fleece competition in Terrace. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. One of the first farms to test positive for Mycoplasma bovis was visited by the Prime Minister on Tuesday. Jacinda Ardern has given assurances the government will help farmers affected by the disease, and it appears the message is being well received.
A warm welcome for the Prime Minister on a South Canterbury dairy farm. Jacinda Ardern is touring regions affected by the cattle disease Mycoplasma bovis following the government's decision to try and eradicate it.
We're here again together, members of the industry, visiting those farmers who have been directly affected by M. bovis to talk through the experiences that they've had, where we can improve, how we can make sure that we give that certainty to those who are directly affected.
The price tag for eradication is close to $900 million over 10 years and will be a world first if successful. But local farmers say it's worth a try.
They have to be positive, and yes, it's hard, but in the end, you just have to start again. As I said before, we got the money back. We bought all the cows already. We got it at the runoff. So we just, new life.
The Argentinian-born share milker is leasing a farm at Morven, just north of Oamaru. Most of his herd of over 1,000 cows were amongst the first to be slaughtered. It took him just 20 days to receive compensation, and he's happy with how MPI handled his situation.
It was hard in the beginning. It was a little bit messy, but that was past. We make it happen. We work together. Since then, it's been great. I have to say, Dave Lindsay was the guy who was in charge of our case, and man, it was, he made it happen, yes.
Right.
While that may be the case here, it remains to be seen whether other farmers are as accepting of the government's decision. And some economists are suggesting the cost of eradication is not much less than simply managing the disease or even doing nothing. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
A Balclutha charity is desperately seeking new horses for a popular form of therapy. Riding for the Disabled say their animals are getting too long in the tooth and need to be replaced.
Due for the knacker's yard. This trusty steed is past his prime as one of the Riding for Disabled's stable of horses. The group say it's becoming a problem.
If we get to the point where we can't replace our horses, it will be a sad day. Balclutha RDA will probably have to close its doors, and there are a lot of kids that rely on us and look forward to it during the week.
Riding for the Disabled has been in New Zealand since the 1960s and in Balclutha for more than 25 years. The organisation aims to breed confidence in children with disabilities through horse riding and animal welfare.
These kids, they learn so much when they're here. They absolutely love it. They learn compassion and empathy, teamwork, patience. It's just fabulous. And you see the kids growing and getting better at their riding and just developing, and it's lovely to see.
But they're needing a number of new animals to keep the program going.
Our main foundation RDA horse is Flame. He's a quarter horse. He's coming up 25 years. We have other horses that RDA use, but they're not necessarily owned by RDA, and they're a more appropriate age, but they fill in a gap.
The group say horses and financial aid will be most welcome. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
Establishing a turf management program in Southland could be the saving grace for the world's southernmost 18-hole links golf course. The now closed Oreti Sands golf course looks set to be leased to the Southern Institute of Technology, and a revival of the course is on the cards.
The Oreti Sands golf course closed in late March after declining memberships for leaseholders, the Southland Golf Club. but an attempt by the Southern Institute of Technology to establish a turf management program could see the land retained as an 18-hole golf course, as well as attract more international students to the region.
We see this as an opportunity for us to run courses in these disciplines and focus on international students as the main intakes for those. It uses an iconic course here in Southland, or the Links course here in Southland, and it gives it an opportunity perhaps to be revitalised with another use.
Former Southland Golf Club President Michael Horn said the turf management program would be a win for all parties involved.
We're very encouraged that SIT might continue the course so that it becomes used as a golf course in the future and remains available to the people of Invercargill and throughout New Zealand, and even international tourists who have expressed interest in continuing to play this course in the future.
While the decision is yet to be ratified, landowner the Invercargill City Council have agreed to lease the grounds to the Institute for 12 months to identify whether the program is a viable option.
If we can carry on with it, then I think it'll be great if we can keep the golf links there, both open to the Invercargill public, but for a broader range of use with international students and tours coming in. So if we can get that year's grace, that'll let us see whether it can work or not.
If the program is viable, the Institute hopes to begin its first intake in February next year. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
Some of the best sheep, goat and alpaca fleeces in the country were judged in Terrace this week. The annual National Golden Fleece competition is being hosted by the Upper Clutha A&P Society in Wanaka for the second year running, with organisers pleased with the quality of entries.
Some of the finest fleeces in the land, and possibly the world. Central Otago's Terrace Hall near Wanaka is currently filled with over 130 wool fleeces from all over the country for this year's National Golden Fleece competition. The judges have spent the last few days weighing and micron testing the entries. Golden Fleece convener Martin Patterson says the wool on display is world class.
These fleeces here are probably some of the best fleeces you'll see anywhere in the world, and of all different breeds, but it's very strong in the merino section, especially this year.
Despite a decline across New Zealand in recent years, sheep farming is still the lifeblood of many farms.
There's many of us, our primary income is still wool. Still today, but they're certainly on mainly on the hill country now, or semi-arid country.
And he's always happy to see new faces amongst the contestants.
You tend to see the regulars come back year after year, but it's great to see some new ones entered because that's what it's about.
The public will get the chance to get involved in events in Wanaka early next month. Mountain Scene Wanaka for The South Today.
And for something completely different, Dunedin man Logan Walden couldn't believe his eyes when he saw an emu standing near his house in Green Island this week.
This video of a friendly neighbourhood emu went viral on social media, attracting more than 10,000 hits so far. The man behind the camera, Logan Walden, warned passing traffic to slow down to avoid hitting the large bird.
There's an emu on the road.
Animal rescue authorities were alerted, and the bird's owner, who lives in a nearby street, arrived to take it home.
Oh my god, it looks like a dinosaur.
Daryl Baser, The South Today.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, we find out which beach on the Otago Peninsula is to receive a multi-million-dollar makeover, and some South Dunedin residents are angry with bank closures. Welcome back. A much eroded beach along Otago Harbour is set to be restored and beautified in a proposal thought to cost around $2.5 million. The announcement to refurbish the Tauroni beach on the peninsula comes after a 10-year campaign by concerned locals.
It's all smiles for the Te Rauani Beach Care Trust following news their beloved beach is finally set to have a makeover. The beach, next to Otakau Marae, has lost a lot of sand in recent years, but now Port Otago is proposing to spend around $1.5 million repairing it.
This particular area is going to have 3 groins put out from the beach, and that will hold the sand on the beach. Port Otago are going to pump in a significant amount of sand. It'll come out of the channel and be pumped onto the beach, and the groins will help hold that onto the beach. From time to time it may have to be replenished. Port Otago have agreed to do that.
The Dunedin City Council have also come on board. They've pledged $900,000 towards landscaping and replanting the adjacent reserve.
That'll become a wonderful area for people just to stop off, have a picnic, have a swim on the beach, and just enjoy the whole environment.
Group Manager for Parks and Recreation, Robert West, says the project to restore Te Rauani Beach will involve extensive consultation with the community.
We'll be working with the community and the partnership group that have come together to look at what we want for the reserve site. So that'll mean consulting with the community about design and what should be on this reserve and what shouldn't be, and then developing a plan, going out again with consultation.
That's welcome news for Des Smith and his trust, who have been campaigning for the project for over a decade.
When you live here and you see it day by day, you lose a metre every month, it's been hugely frustrating, but we're past that now, that's behind us. We look forward to something that's going to be very, very special for this area.
The 3-year project will also require additional community fundraising before it's complete. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
It's been almost 2 decades in the making, but a new museum on Stewart Island is one step closer to construction. The final documents are set to be signed this week, with construction of the Rakiura Heritage Centre to begin in early spring.
Southern District Councillor and Stewart Island local Bruce Ford is passionate about the heritage of Rakiura, which is why he is one of many locals behind the construction of its new heritage centre to tell the story of the island's colourful history.
We've had sawmilling in the early days, and a lot of the bush here is second growth, so it's all been milled at least once, and then we've had all the whaling industry, sealers in the very early days. So all that history is, it's pretty much got our fingers on it. It's recorded, and that would be part of the displays.
He said while the current museum has done its job for almost 60 years, the new $3.6 million Heritage Centre would use modern technology and displays to tell the island's history.
It's not sort of fit for purpose as the guts of it, so that's really where we're coming from now. We need to better exhibits, better displays, everything needs to be a tad better to show it to people. This will be a modern display and some modern technology, so it won't be the same sort of glass cases like you might find in some old museums.
Construction was supposed to begin over summer this year, but after 18 years in the making, Ford said another few months won't hurt to get the job done right.
That began many, many years ago, and it's taken a lot of chasing to get the funding for that. So that's been a major win. We're about to sign the documents for the contractors. You would expect to be starting in spring anyway, because the ground has to be firmed up and piles to be driven, so there's a lot of that sort of work, and we're conscious of short days in the winter that we don't get our money's worth out of the men otherwise.
If construction dates go to plan, Ford said the museum collection could be moved to the new building in around 12 months' time. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
Passionate locals have voiced their opposition to the closure of the Kiwi Bank and Post Shop in South Dunedin. A vocal group turned out to a public meeting on Tuesday where a petition has been drafted to keep the services open.
Emotions were running high in South Dunedin this afternoon as frustrated locals rallied in support of keeping South Dunedin's Kiwi Bank and Post Shop open. Kiwi Bank is proposing to shut down 3 Dunedin branches, replacing them with one hub. South Dunedin man Graham Donaldson says it's angered South Dunedin residents.
It's biggest electorate, most densely populated electorate in the country. It serves so many people, and taking it away just would kill off South Dunedin. As City Council, one of them said, it's a nail in the coffin. We just have to keep this going.
Business leaders are also disappointed with the decision, saying it's another blow to South Dunedin's economy.
We think it is a very essential community service in South Dunedin, and it will be a huge disadvantage to a lot of people in this area.
Kiwibank says similar restructures throughout the country have been popular. But the South Dunedin Business Association says the decision to close the southern branches will have wide-reaching ramifications for the area's ageing residents.
Due to the high proportion of low socioeconomic people in South Dunedin, the high proportion of people in South Dunedin with no vehicles, which is over 36%, and also a proportion of people who have no internet access in South Dunedin.
Graham Donaldson says residents are not going to take the decision lying down.
And it just has to happen. I mean, they just can't downtrodden South Dunedin or the people of Dunedin all the time, and we just have to take this issue and counter it.
Residents have until next week to give Kiwibank their feedback. Daryl Baser, The South Today.
And after the break on Southern Newsweek, Dunedin Public Library becomes a temporary venue for live music, and thousands enjoy a local delicacy in Bluff. Welcome back. Dunedin's Public Library became a venue for live music last Sunday afternoon. 50 different live acts played amongst the books as part of Dunedin's contribution to New Zealand Music Month.
Anyone hoping for a quiet visit to the Dunedin Public Library yesterday afternoon might have been in for a bit of a surprise. The library played host to all sorts and styles of live music acts as part of New Zealand Music Month. Nook and Cranny Music Festival co-organiser Brendan Christie says the main aim of the event is to showcase the wide range of musical genres amongst Dunedin performers.
As it's New Zealand Music Month, trying to find a way to find a single place where people can come and enjoy all of Dunedin's music in a single place and kind of get an idea of all the differences and the styles of music that we have across the city.
50 live acts, some performing more than once, played their music all over the building during the afternoon. The concert spanned 3 floors, with one left over as a designated quiet zone.
They happen all over the library. We have in some places across and between book stacks and between CD stacks, and sometimes we have them out the front of the entrance or in the elevators, and all the different places we can find, and we can squeeze music into, turning the library into a real kind of find your own music style of festival. Yeah.
The rainy Sunday afternoon encouraged plenty of appreciative listeners. Many of the artists enjoyed the positive response and are looking forward to playing again at next year's festival. Rudy Adrian, The South Today.
Thousands headed south last weekend for their fill of the famous Bluff oyster. A capacity crowd of around 4,500 people at the Bluff Oyster and Food Festival chowed down on the southern delicacies.
They may have been packed in like sardines, but it was a different salty delicacy these food lovers were after. Thousands made their way south for the Bluff Oyster and Food Festival, joining long lines for a taste of the fresh southern seafood. The festival attracted people from all over the country, including National Party leader Simon Bridges, who wasn't wasting any time when it came to eating his fill.
I had some oysters last night at a restaurant in Invis, and then today I've had paella, pork belly, a lot of oysters. I haven't had a beer yet, but that's going to wash it all down.
Bridges said the festival was the best way to wrap up his tour of Southland and Otago.
So I've been in Otago Southland for 3-4 days, tiki touring around, doing big town hall style meetings, met a lot of people, had a lot of good feedback, so it's been worth doing. And then to just finish it with a bit of fun like this is really good.
Food lovers were spoiled for choice at the festival, with scallops, freshly cracked kina and a unique take on Southland sushi. Organisers said around 20,000 oysters were consumed by the 4,500 people who attended. Tickets for next year's event went on sale at the close of the 2018 festival and are expected to sell out in record time. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
And the Bluff Festival featured both oyster eating and oyster shucking competitions. There were some fresh faces among this year's competitors, but unsurprisingly, it was the Bluffies who came out on top.
The highlight of the Bluff Oyster and Food Festival may be chowing down on some fresh oysters, but a close second would have to be watching others do it as quickly as possible. The competition was fierce at this year's oyster eating and opening competitions, coming down to the wire in some of the races. Representing Barnes Oysters, Vic Piercy battled through some tough conditions and competition to claim her 8th consecutive title at the festival.
The oyster shells themselves were yuck, like crumbly, really just shattered, so you had to find another way to go in. And old Miss Peggy over there, she's hot on my tail. One day she's going to take it. I'm waiting. I want that to happen. A bit more competition.
She said the competition was a great way to showcase the unique talents of the Bluff oyster shuckers.
I love it, and that's why, even if there was no prize or anything, we'd be up here. It's a skill we've got, and it's good to be able to show it.
A new novice race was introduced to the lineup this year, with Bluff man Xavier Fife taking out his first competition.
First time this year, yeah.
Yeah, oh cool. And how do you think you went out there?
Oh, pretty good, not too bad. Just had fun. Yeah.
Preparations have already begun for next year's festival, but there will have to be a lot of preparation for anyone looking to beat these Bluff champions. Sharon Rees, The South Today.
And questions are being raised over Queenstown Lakes District Council's plans to evict over 100 long-term residents living at Frankton Motor Camp. The camp's lease is due to expire in just over a year, with the council signalling it's likely to put an end to people living at the site. As Mina Amso reports, it may force some residents to leave town.
It's long been a popular spot for holiday makers. Frankton Motor Camp, which fronts Lake Wakatipu in Queenstown, is owned by Queenstown Lakes District Council and managed by local couple Tracy and Graham O'Rourke. The camp, O'Rourke says, has also been a much needed accommodation solution in the district.
Just such a lack of accommodation in the area that this is probably their first port of call, because they think that this is something that they might be able to do as a stepping stone.
In 2008, 53 people lived at Frankton Motor Camp long-term. 8 years later, that number more than doubled to 129. However, the Queenstown Lakes District Council is reviewing its district-wide camping strategy, meaning the future of the campground and its occupants is uncertain. O'Rourke is questioning the council's proposal to evict over 100 residents currently living on site, when she says little is being done to provide an alternative solution.
Well, apparently it's not the council's problem, and that's exactly what they said at the public meeting that they had at the event centre.
In the council's camping strategy, the council was recommended by a hearing committee that the camp has largely become, quote, a relief residential area on the public land for a small amount of people. It also says it's not appropriate for a publicly owned reserve to be used to subsidise the cost of residential accommodation. In a statement, Queenstown Lakes District Council's General Manager of Community Services, Thunes Clowett, told The South Today, "We are unable to say what the future of the site will be, but it is unlikely that the current arrangement will continue. This means over 100 residents may have to find a new home by August next year."
they do dispose of this camping ground, there'll never be another one beside the lake.
The council says it has given advance notice to the camp managers and residents about the proposed future plans and have had a meeting with those affected last month. However, Cloet says this will be consulted publicly towards the end of August, and Frankton Campground management and residents will be actively engaged in the strategy consultation process. A final decision will be made by October this year. With more people struggle to find affordable accommodation in Queenstown, O'Rourke questions whether it is the right move for the council to evict Frankton Camp residents by August next year. Mina Amstow, The South Today.
And that wraps up this edition of Southern Newsweek. Get online and check us out on Facebook, or keep up with Southern News via our website, channel39.co.nz. I'm Holly Buchanan. Thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.